Hey guys, you guys already doing great. Asked me to post a video about just how to use D&D Beyond. So just give me a second. That's the dog. Everyone say hi to Ludo. All right. So if you go here, this is D&D Beyond homepage. We're going to assume you've already set up your account, and you at least have an account running, and you just need to learn how to make a character. So you've got your collections. You're going to go to My Characters. Okay, and unlimited characters because I'm amazing. And it's going to show you all the characters you've ever made. Have the free version. It's going to be limited to 6 different characters, which sounds like a lot, but I promise you it's not. Okay, and you're going to go ahead and up in the top right corner, and yes, I realize we're doing this through the desktop, not the app. The desktop is better. Use the desktop if you can. If you have to make a character through the app, by all means do it, but I'm doing it through the desktop, so if you do it through the desktop, it'll just be a lot easier. You're going to go pick standard, which is just normal. Don't worry about that, and then we're just going to call him Tim. And Tim is going to be a bard. So if you look in this first page, first thing it's going to ask you is to pick your sources. These are the different books that are available. Homebrew content is, things that people have made for D&D, but is not from D&D. We will not choose from that. Critical Role contacts, that's from content. Doing great. Content, that's again, not from D&D itself, so we're not doing that. Magic the Gathering, that is from Wizards of the Coast, who owns D&D, so that's at least core content. Eberron, core content. Rick and Morty, we all know what that is. That's clearly not core content. And then non-core D&D content kind of speaks for itself. Dice rolling enables you to roll a digital dice. Most of you don't dice of your own, so definitely do that. Optional features. So, optional class features and customize your origin. Recently, there was a book that came out called Tasha's Cauldron of Everything that allowed you to customize your origin and change your class features. So in the past, if you played certain races, they would have certain advantages to their ability scores based on that race, which was okay. That makes it pretty realistic because if you have this giant orc, they're naturally going to be stronger, et cetera, versus, a little elf that's going to be maybe smarter. Sounds great, but it kind of pigeonholes you into taking certain classes if you're playing certain races. Otherwise, you're just not going to have as much fun because they're just not going to be as good. So this basically says, hey, you don't need to do that. And we'll get into more of what that means when we get to that. Advancement type. We use milestone. We do not use XP. Some DMs might use XP if you keep playing. Milestone basically is at certain points I'm going to say, hey, your character just leveled up, and when that happens, we'll take it from there. HP type, hit point type. You can choose whichever one you want. Take the average. So when you pick fixed, that's saying you have decided the average. However, on this machine here, if you pick have to manually remember every time you level up to update your HP. And I'm going to be honest, I usually forget. So I recommend picking Fixed. If you're going to use the app, pick Fixed. Use prerequisites. So multi-class requirements, we'll start with that one. So let's say you're a fighter. Okay, you're a fighter. If you're a fighter, you're going to be really good at hitting things with a sword. Well, you know, maybe you want to cast a spell or two once in a while. So multi-class is basically saying, I'm a fighter, but I've taken a couple of levels in Wizard, let's just say. So where every day at this point, everyone's level 10. Well, you could be a level 8 fighter and a level 2 wizard. So you've taken 8 levels in fighter and 2 levels in wizard. Cool. Well, there's some requirements to be able to multi-class, and those requirements are based on the class that you want. For example, all of them require at least a 13 in whatever ability the class uses. Example, to multi-class, like we said, into wizard, you need to have at least a 13 in intelligence. Fair enough. I use that because otherwise it gets crazy. And then certain feats require things like this is only available to wizards. This is only available to fighters. I also use those because that's part of the feat. Next, show level scaled spells. So there's this thing in spellcasting called I don't know if I'll call it this in the Dungeon Master's Guide or the book, but we always call it upcasting, which basically says I have a level 2 spell. I'm going to use a level 3 spell slot to cast it. Well, because you used a higher level spell slot, the spell is more powerful. And that's part of the spell. It's written into the spell how that works. This basically says, hey, we're going to show you that. So when you go into your level 3 spells, you're also going to see all of your level 3 spells, but also all of your level 2 spells that can be upcasted, or also your level 1 spells that can be upcasted. So that's all that's saying. It's pretty cool. Encumbrance type. I don't use encumbrance. I don't know anyone who uses encumbrance. It's meant to make things more realistic, but it just bogs the game down. If something's too heavy to be carried, you just, as a DM, I just let you know, hey, this is too heavy for your character to carry. You're going to have to carry it, multiple trips, or multiple team members are going to have to use their strength to carry it, but one person can't do the job. Ability score, modifier display. This is, again, kind of just personal preference. So on your character, there is your ability score and modifier. Your modifier is more important than your ability score. One moment. Just. Yeah. So, sorry for the interruption. Morgan's making me cookies because it's Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day. So, ability score, modifier, display. There's two things, ability score and modifier. Your modifier comes from your ability score. You can change this at any time, so don't worry. It's just how you want it to be displayed. Do you want the modifier to be easier to see, or the ability score to be easier to see? It's that simple. All right, character privacy, private or public. I always pick public. And we're going on to the next page. Next, this is where we're kind of deviate from things. I am going to select the race. I'm not going to fill out all the data. I'm going to come back to things because of how I do this. So as you can see, this is where you can select your race. It says all sources at the top. That's just based off the books that you have. As you can see, I have a few. And based on those books, different races are available. So we have Dragonborn, which I'm just going to go through the ones that may not be totally normal. Dragonborn look very much like dragons, standing erect in humanoid form, though they lack wings or a tail. So if you look at racial traits, this is actually what I was talking about earlier. +2 to strength, +1 to charisma. Then you got draconic ancestry, which is just an ability. You have a breath weapon. You can shoot fire through your mouth, and damage resistance to whatever type of, if you're a red dragon, you're resistant to fire. But back to +2 strength, +1 charisma. As I was saying earlier, this is what I was talking about, how in the past you would be pigeonholed into a class. So if you played a Dragonborn, you would pick a class that would use strength and or charisma. So back in the day, you would see a lot of Dragonborn characters be paladins because they use strength to use their swords and they use charisma for spellcasting. That's what they did every time. And so you never saw Dragonborn bards. You wouldn't see that. Well, you would see that because the charisma, but you wouldn't see a Dragonborn wizard. That you wouldn't see because wizards don't use strength and wizards don't use charisma. So with Tasha's, they basically said, okay, instead of +2 strength, +1 charisma, they changed it so that now you can change that where it's +2 X, +1 Y. So as long as whatever you're getting a +2 in is different than what you're getting a +1 in, you're good. Meaning you could have, in this case, say we want to make a bard, +2 charisma, +1 dexterity. You could do that instead of having to use +2 strength, +1 charisma. It's good. A lot of people don't like it, but whatever. Dwarf, everyone knows what a dwarf is. Elf, everyone knows what a elf is. Elf, half orc, very popular classes. Halfling, those are hobbits. They're cool. I like using them. Let's see. Human, we're all humans. Gnomes, specifically a rock gnome. +2 to intelligent, dark vision, gnome cunning. You could cry. And by the way, Marlo's here, everybody. Hi, Marlo. When we're done, I'll put him on the thing so everyone can see the baby. So yeah, rock gnomes. They're kind of cool. So you can be a gnome. You can be a tiefling, which is like a demon, and then Aasimar, which is like an angel. I see what they did there. But we're gonna be a halfling because I love halfling. You have a choice here between Lightfoot and Stout. They're just little brands of halfling. So if you look here, you can kind of see the difference. Racial trait for Lightfoot, +2, dexterity, lucky, brave, halfling, nimbleness. Or a Stout halfling, I have to go back down. +2 dexterity, luck, brave, halfling, nimbleness. It's the same thing, but it looks like they probably have different abilities. But we can see if we want to look into that later. I don't know. I'm going to use a Lightfoot halfling just because that's what I want to choose. A Lightfoot halfling, you can easily hide from notice, even using other people as cover. You're inclined to be affable and get along well with others. In the Forgotten Realms, Lightfoot halflings have spread the farthest and thus are the most common variety. Lightfoots are most prone, doing great, to wanderlust than other halflings and often dwell alongside other races or take up nomadic life in the world of Greyhawk. These halflings are called Harefeet. Oh, that's fun. I like that. Or tall fellows. So, these are your racial traits. Lucky. If you ever roll 1 on a d20 for an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. You can re-roll the dice. That's great. We love the lucky trait. Brave, you have advantage on being frightened. Halfling nimbleness, you can move through the space of any creature that is a size larger than yours. So if you're going to be small. If you're fighting someone who's medium or large, you can go under their legs and sneak around them, and it's fun. Yay, the small people. Naturally stealthy, you can attempt to hide even when you are obscured only by a creature that is at least one size larger than you. So again, you can hide behind people. Cool. So earlier we talked about being able to change your origin. This is basically saying that, as I said, origin, Anishver. So you select this to change your bow. Choose an ability score to increase by 2 instead of previously granted dexterity score increase. So basically, because I only got +2 in one thing, I can only get +2 in another thing. It doesn't give me more. It just allows me to change what I already have. So that's what that did. And then because I was a Lightfoot, I could add 1 to my charisma. But I mean, who knows? I might switch it up. I'm probably going to switch it up. So I'm going to do that too. I'm not going to change the languages because there's no real need to. And we're going to leave it at that. So if you go back, once you've selected those, you go back to where you were. You're going to see that you have to change, select your racial traits. You can do this now. I recommend not. Because what we're now going to actually do, and keep in mind we haven't changed that, we're going to skip to classes, and we're going to go ahead and select one. Add class. And we're going to make him a level 3 because everyone should start at level 3. Level 1 is oof. So he's going to start at level 3, and you're going to see proficiencies. So you're going to pick things and skills you are proficient in. So he's a bard, so he's going to be good with musical tools and that sort of thing. So we're going to give him a lute. We're going to say he's good on the lute, on the flute, and maybe something, the lyre. There you go. All right, so he's good with 3 different musical instruments. And then you pick skills. So you're going to go here. You're going to pick 3 in total. So bards are charisma-based and based characters. You could see that in the beginning there. Selected bards. There was a little blurb that said charisma, dexterity. And so there's certain skills that are associated with those abilities. Easy example, deception. That's going to be charisma based. Perception is going to be wisdom based. But for persuasion, that's going to be, as I said, charisma based. You don't only have to pick skills that you are normally based in. I always like to pick perception or insight because it just helps with seeing things. And I'm going to change deception to performance because the type of bard I want to make a little more theatrical, less sneaky, more theatrical. We're just looking up here. Cool. Okay. Performance, persuasion, perception. And then you pick your bard college, which is a subclass. You're going to pick your subclass. Different classes get them at different levels. Bard gets them at 3rd level. Most get them at 2nd or 3rd level. A couple of classes get them at 1st. But you just pick your different college. And I am going to pick College of Glamour. You can read about these. Obviously, you can learn more about them before you use them. Don't feel you need to. It's a lot of reading. But by all means do. If you decide you want to like really learn about them before you pick them, by all means do. And you can do that by when you pick it, at least on this website, the way you would look this up is you would say, let's pick, College of Glamour, and you'd scroll down and just be like, okay, what do I get at higher levels? So at 3rd level, I get Mantle of Inspiration, and it can tell you about that. Enthralling Performance, it'll tell you about that. And then here are all the things you will get as you level up as a College of Glamour Bard. All the way up to 20th level, which is the maximum. And, different things for different classes, different things for different subclasses. It depends on what kind of character you want to make. Cool. But one thing I did do to choose, and you can see this by the little exclamation part, is expertise. Expertise. How to explain expertise before we really talk about skill checks. So there's skills. Going back to your performance, perception, persuasion. Those are the skills I have. Expertise is saying you're really good at this. So when you do it, you're actually twice as good. Which we'll get into more because it's based on your proficiency. You're twice as proficient as the normal person at your level. So we're going to say he's really good at performance and persuasion. Both charisma-based things. He's really good at those. We're just going to say that because that'll help us be the best bard we can be. Okay, so everything here seems to be filled out. That's great. And now we're going to go to abilities. Now, you can actually, if you remember, on race, we left something blank. But if you go to abilities, it actually shows up here again because you didn't fill it out, and it affects your abilities. So you don't need to go back. Okay, so you're going to choose a generation method. Any of these three is good. Standard array. So let's just go through it, and I'll show you. Standard array. So you're on standard array, and you have different scores to pick to put in different places. 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8. And you can choose to put them anywhere, and obviously you can only do one. So, just so you know, 10 is considered an average person, and then you get +1 in everything after 2. So if I pick 12 for strength, that means I add a 1 to strength-based things. If I am 13, though, I would still add a 1. So it's every 2. But that works the other way as well. If I pick 8, that would be a -1. I'm not strong. So if I'm trying to push a boulder and I am not strong and I have an 8, I'm going to roll my dice and then subtract 1 because of what I chose. And that's standard array. Point by, you have points. You're assigned points. And if you change your score, oh, cool. It even shows how much it is. So I could put 15. So let's just try to max things out. 15, 15. See where this is going? You could make three things 15, but then you're out of points, and the rest of your abilities are 8. So you might want to balance that a little bit better. And you can also use, obviously, you use your ability score increases from your race or, eventually when you level up your class. So you can use those to make your scores as high as you can. Meaning, again, as I said, for every 2, you get +1 in that ability. So for a 15, you're actually between 14 and 16. So you're getting +2 in that ability. But if you say, hey, use my ability score to as a Lightfoot to increase my strength by 1, so now it's a 16. Now you have +3 in all strength abilities. Again, meaning again that boulder. So you're you're pushing a boulder. Okay, I need you to roll a strength check. Boom, roll your dice. You rolled a 12. Well, you're going to add a 3 to that because you're a strong halfling. We're not going to do that though. My favorite, and it's the classic, is to actually roll for ability scores. Now, you can put your scores wherever you want. You're not just like rolling, oh, that's your strength. People do that and they're crazy. We're not doing that. So, you press roll. It's going to roll a dice. 17. Cool. So, with all the other ones, if you notice, all the other ones, the maximum was 15. Well, if you roll, the maximum is 18 because it's 4 6-sided dice minus the lowest. So so it's really 3, really. So it's 4, but you subtract the lowest one. So if you roll a 1, a 6, a 6, a 6, you get an 18. So the lowest you can get is a 3, but the highest you can get is an 18. I'm going to tell you right now, if you roll a 3, go ahead and re-roll it because I'm not going to make you take that. If you roll 4 1s, go ahead and re-roll that. So we're just going through here. 17, 14, 14, 8, 13, and 11. Honestly, this is a really good roll. This is not bad. So, as I said, Bard. A Bard is a charisma-based character, so it makes sense. Maybe we put charisma as the highest score. Next, it mentioned dexterity. Dexterity would be a good one to put at the top. We've got 2 14s here, so we can kind of play around with that. So dexterity. For spellcasting, strangely enough, something people overlook. Constitution. Constitution, and we'll get into this more when we get to those. Constitution saving throws are important for spellcasters because that is how you determine concentration. So if you are concentrating on a spell and you get hit, I'm going to ask you to roll a Constitution saving throw to see if you manage to stay focused while getting hit. So Constitution for a spellcaster is actually very important. I can tell you what's not important is Strength. So that's going to be our 8. And then you've got this 13 and this 11, and you can really do whatever you want with that. Do you want to be a really smart bard, or do you want to be a bard that is perceptive and maybe makes good decisions, or is very perceptive and is able to really see how people think? it's intelligence versus wisdom. You can have someone who's really smart, but who doesn't who is not observant whatsoever. Or you can have someone who's super observant, but doesn't know simple like addition. But 11's not bad. So as I said, an average person is a 10. So an 11 is, you're still not adding anything to your modifier, but 11, you're at least not losing anything. But I'm going to go ahead and pick wisdom for my 13 and intelligence for my 11. And if you look under here, you could reset and roll it all over again. But I'm not going to because I like it and I'm going to pick it. You shouldn't get in the habit of resetting it. You should pretty much always stick to the rules you're given. It's kind of on the honor system here, guys. As I said, though, if you roll, I would say if you're looking at these 6 scores, these 6 rolls, if more than 2 of them are lower than an 8, I'll even give you, if more than 2 of them are lower than a 9, re-roll one of those scores. Again, though, this is all on the honor system because we're all adults here, and we should be able to trust each other, not to just make up scores. So, as I said, we're going to use this to pump up our stats. But what I want to show you before we do that is a score calculator. Remember when I was telling you about the different scores and how they're calculated? Well, you've got different bonuses, but the important thing to look at is your total score and modifier. As I said, strength is 8, so it's -1. Dexterity is a 14 plus 2. And then we just keep looking here. 11 plus 0 for your intelligence. 13 plus 1 for your wisdom. Charisma, our main score here, is a +3. So we've got a decision to make. We could either we can add +2 and then +1 in something else. So the real decision here, because if you use the +1, I always try to use +1 in whatever is an odd number. So you're 13 in wisdom and 17 in charisma. So you could use this to make your charisma score an 18, which would be a +4. Or, because charisma is your main stat, you could go ahead and give it that +2, which would make it a 19, and then hope to get, and then you just have to increase it by 1 later. I'm going to actually do that. So what I'm going to actually do here, just because this is a 13, I'm going to do +1 in wisdom and +2 in charisma. So choose ability score to increase by 2. We're going to go ahead and increase our charisma by 2. Choose ability score to increase by 1. As I said, we're going to go ahead and increase our wisdom by 1. And if you go down here, you'll see it's updated. Wisdom is now a 14, so that's going to be a +4. And you can even see your base score, your original score before you had your increases. Base score 13 + 1, 14. Okay, and then your modifier for your charisma is a +4. So you're at a 19. You're almost at the maximum. When you get one more there, that'll be a 20, and you'll have a +5 in all charisma checks and skills related to charisma. So right now, you have a character. Really, you just made a character. We just made a character, guys. For the most part, that's most of what you need to do. Everything after this is flavor and just making things better, choosing spells. We're going to go through all this. One thing I did want to mention earlier, I mentioned that you can learn about different classes and stuff through, going and playing around with the system, which you totally could and you totally should, because it just helps you know how to use it. However, D&D Beyond has a wonderful search bar here. By all means, use that to look up, oh, what does this mean? And it'll answer whatever questions you have. D&D Beyond is pretty awesome like that. But we're done with our ability scores. As I said, for the most part, that's most of your character right there. Now we're going to background, which is, again, we're getting into the flavor of things and just seeing what you want to do with your character. So the first thing you can always do is a custom background. If you pick a custom background and press configure here, you've got 3 options. You can either 2 skills, 2 tools, 2 skills, 2 languages, 2 skill, 1 tool, and 1 language. Those are your choices. And then your background feature, I don't really know what that's for. I think it's based on, I think it gives you like suggestions of how to flavor it. And then your characteristics, same thing. I don't really use custom background on the app just because I have a couple of backgrounds that I really like. So Charlatan is a pretty common one because of the stuff you get. You get skill proficiency in Deception and Sleight of Hand. So Deception is one of those charisma-based skills that we actually didn't take. So that would be useful. Sleight of Hand we also didn't take, and that was dexterity-based. So that would be good. You also get some tools, proficiency in disguised hits and forgery kits. That would be cool. So you know what? We're going to go and pick that. So background Charlatan. Again, there's plenty of others. If you pick them, it'll tell you about them. So, you know, have fun and kind of go through them. Yeah. After this, and we're not going to go through all of this just because you don't need my help doing this. You could actually use this to create a background. Usually you would write down a background. Paragraph per level. So if you're starting at 3rd level, we're talking paragraphs. That being said, we're not in school anymore, kids. If you can't write 3 paragraphs or don't want to write 3 paragraphs, great. If you want to write 2 sentences and call it a day, great. That being said, the more you give me, the more I can work in your backstory into the actual campaign. That being said, if you are level 3 and in your backstory you're talking about how you killed a dragon and you're the king of a nation, I'm going to look at you and tell you to write a new backstory because you're a level 3 adventurer. So that's why, you know, keep it short, but not, you know, detailed. Short yet detailed. Or short yet vague, however you want to write it. It's really not that big of a deal. Or don't write one at all, and I'm going to tell everyone that your character has a memory loss and doesn't remember who they are. That's very common. And your entire campaign, you're trying to remember who you are, name is, and why you have this amulet. We can totally do that. That's totally fine. And I expect one of you will probably do that. And that's fine. So that's how you make your backstory. Hey, we just made a backstory. We could totally use it for 10 minutes. Equipment. So you could totally just pick gold and you start off with nothing but a bunch of gold. But that means you have nothing. And I'd always start campaigns Yay. You get starting equipment. So you're going to pick up either a rapier, a longsword, any simple weapon. We're going to go with rapier. When we're really looking into our character sheet and really talking about what means what, I'll get more into this. Rapier is called a finesse weapon, which means that instead of using, most weapons you either use strength or dexterity. Finesse weapons, you can use either. And in our case, we would use dexterity because that's what we put our time and energy in as a character. Diplomat's pack or an entertainer's pack. And if you pick it, you can see it shows you what's in it, and then you get another choice. I'm going to go with a entertainer's pack because of what kind of character I'm trying to build. And that means he gets a loot. He also gets a set of leather armor and a dagger, which is cool. But then as a charlatan, we get a set of fine clothes and a disguise kit, which is pretty cool. And then you got a couple of more. We could 10 stop bottles filled with colored liquid, a set of weighted dice, a deck of marked cards. Wow, I'm doing great today. Or a signet ring of an imaginary. I am actually going to use, the 10 stoppered bottles of colored liquid. So we got our coin house with 50 gold, and we are adding our starting equipment. And it's just showing us here what we've selected. If you see here, there's a couple of options here. Your rapier, you can go ahead and say you're wielding it. If it's highlighted green, you're holding it. So we're going to go ahead and do that for the rapier, the leveler armor. That's really it. Yeah, rapier and leveler armor. Okay, so we're going to go to next. And this is your character. If you click here, you can view your character sheet. And that's what we're going to do next, because we kind of got to go through and play this is how we play. Now, I mentioned the app versus the web page. And for a second here, we're going to talk about why I say use the web page. Because if you look here, you'll notice that this is a lot of information, but it's all right in front of you. Whereas on the app, you have to flip through different pages to see all of this. So we're just going to go through section by section to figure out what everything means. If I was smart, this would be a whole separate video, but I'm not, so we're just doing it all at once. Starting up here, these are our scores. Now, remember I said we selected having our modifier on top. I like that because I like having these numbers. These are the important numbers on top where we can see them. So that's your strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. If you are wondering what those really mean, there is the tomato analogy. Don't know where I heard this, can't remember where I heard this, but I love it, and it's really great. So strength, using a tomato. Strength is your ability to crush a tomato. Dexterity is your ability to peel a tomato. Constitution is your ability to eat a rotten tomato without being sick. Intelligence is to know that technically tomato is a fruit and not a vegetable. Wisdom is your ability to understand that though it is a fruit, it does not belong in a fruit salad. And charisma, and this is the best part, my favorite part rather, is your ability to sell tomato-based fruit salad to people. And the answer to that, all our charisma-based characters would all say, tomato-based fruit salad is called salsa, and it's delicious. So there you go. Those are your ability scores and how they basically work. Saving throws. So right here you see saving throw. Because of our you are proficient in dexterity and charisma saving throws. What does that mean? So with dexterity, because it's a little easier. Okay, you're in a dungeon. You're running through a hallway. Your foot hits a piece of stone. All of a sudden, you hear a click, and you dive out of the way because you've been in a dungeon before. There's darts coming. I'm going to tell you, roll a dexterity saving throw, and you're going to go on your character sheet here, and you're going to click that, and it's going to roll it for you. And you rolled a nat 1, which means automatic failure, and you're going to take damage. But if you see here, it says 5 plus 4, 5. Well, that's because you are proficient in dexterity saving throws, which means you add your proficiency bonus to your saving throws, as well as your modifier. So you're using your modifier, which is +2, plus your proficiency bonus, which is again +2, so +4. So real quick over here, proficiency bonus, because we already got into it. Everyone has a proficiency bonus. Basically, it means if you roll a 2, you're not going to get a 2. You're going to get a 4 if you're proficient in a thing. If you're really good at acrobatics, your skills here, and you're proficient in them, there's a minimum score you're always going to get, and that's how it's calculated with a proficiency bonus. And it increases as you level up, and we'll go through that as you level up. I don't want to flood you with information all at once, because then you're just going to forget things. But right now our proficiency bonus is a +2. I am going to say this because this is an option that I give my players. You can forego that proficiency bonus of +2, meaning, for example, that using that dexterity saving throw, you could just make it, instead of a 1 + 4, a 1 + 2, meaning 3. Why would you do that? Well, because that proficiency bonus is actually taking an average score. If you ever decide to read the Dungeon Master's Guide, one of the optional rules is that proficiency score is actually a average roll. And right now, if you're +2, if it says +2, that's actually a D4, take the average roll. So instead of using what we just said, dexterity, we're going to not use the proficiency bonus. We're going to use a proficiency roll. So you get +2 because you're skilled, your skills in dexterity. So 3 plus a D4. The way you would do that if you don't have dice is in the corner here, pick the D4. So you got a 3, and you rolled a 2. So you got exactly the same. But because it goes from but that's that for now. Walking speed, 20 feet per round. We'll get into rounds later. Initiative. Maybe watch some YouTube videos of people playing D&D. They always say roll for initiative. That means we're about to start combat. So when I say roll for initiative, you just click right here and it's an initiative roll for you. I rolled a 2 because I'm rolling horribly today on this computer, and that means 5. So whoever rolls the highest goes first. That includes the people you're fighting against. And there's a bunch of other rules to that you don't need to worry about right now. Armor class. Armor class is important. So 13. Our armor class is currently 13. When you are in combat, I'm going to be playing as whatever creature. 7, and the thing is the +4 to hit. So that means I'm going to look at you and say, does a 15 hit? And you're going to look at your armor and see that it's a 13, and you're going to say yes. And that means I roll for and we'll get more into that when we get into that economy. Okay, so we've got acrobatics, animal handling, arcana. You see all of these. You all can and you can see what these mean. You remember that we selected skills to be proficient in. And you might even remember that we decided that we were experts in performance and persuasion. So if I ever ask you, and I ever ask you to roll a persuasion check, you're going to add 8 to it. So again, I rolled super low. I have been this entire time, but I add an 8, so I still got a 12. That's not. That being said, if you pick athletics and you roll like I've been rolling, of course I roll really well and roll a 17, but you can see that it's just a 17. That's how that works. So you're proficient in your ability score adds into skill checks as well. And you don't, one of the wonderful things about this app is you don't have to really worry about calculating all of it. It does it for you. Other proficiencies, as it says here, you're proficient in light armor. You have the ability to use light armor. These are the weapons you're proficient in. You can use and add your proficiency bonus. Tools, Skies kit, flute, forgery kit, lute, valor. Cool. Great. Gotcha. Languages, you speak Halfling, which is the language of the hobbits, and Common. Common is the common language of wherever you are. And that's that. We kind of touched on it earlier when we were talking about armor class, thing. The other of it, like, okay, now we're in combat and you're attacking. It's your turn. You rolled a 14 for your initiative. Well, it's your turn now. What are you going to do? Well, you're going to stab him with your, let's just say. So as I said earlier, there's armor class. So the monsters you're fighting also have an armor class. You don't know what it is. I'm not going to tell you what it is. But you can calculate it whether or not you hit. You can figure out your hit dice, it's called. And you're going to roll it, and you're going to add +4. Your proficient rapier, dexterity, weapon. So you had your +2 for it being dex. Another plus is your, so +4. Roll to 17. So you're going to look at me and go, 17 hit, and I'm probably going to say yes. Depends who you're fighting. Like, yes, roll for damage. So then you're, and you rolled a 7 +2 because again it's a finesse weapon. 9. So whatever you're fighting is going to take. That simple. It really is pretty simple. Some practice. But all classes have abilities like this that you need to understand how they work. One thing I will say, just generally, when you're in combat, time slows down, and understand that I'm putting air quotes around slows down, meaning every action you take, every round is 6 seconds. So 10 rounds is a minute. So if you're looking at things. I mean, there's this, and Falling Performance takes a minute, but it's not really for that. So if you're in combat and it's saying it takes a minute to cast this spell, keep that in mind. So attacks, and you can sort it. I love that. You can sort it by attacks, actions, bonus actions you can do, reactions, other limited use. Cool. Spells. This is actually going to be the last thing we touch on before I'm done. As certain classes get spells, there's called full casters and half casters. Full casters are your bards, your wizards, your sorcerers. Half casters are your full casters are your bards, your wizards, your sorcerers, or your druids. And then you've got half casters, which I would say are like your paladin, your ranger. I kind of sort of put cleric in there too, but some people say full caster. They probably are meant to, but whatever. I don't care. And then they're your melee combatants, which is really the point I'm getting to, is you've got your barbarians, your fighters, and your rogues, who traditionally do not have magical abilities. Some subclasses allow you to, but as a rule, they don't. We checked a bard. He's a full caster. He has magical abilities. So there's something called spell slots, which if you follow a bunch of D&D stuff on YouTube like I do, named Joe Cat, he's amazing. I am totally quoting him on this. Mage bullets. I love that term because it kind of keeps it in perspective of this character based on his level and class and different attributes. Has +4 as a modifier, I know, +6 to any spell attack, and his spell save DC is 14. We're not going to get too much into spell save DC. I will ask for it. Just know where to find it. It's right here. But the important thing right now is to know this character is a level 3. He has access to 4 first level spell slots and 2 second level spell slots. You will see that there is nothing listed here because we have not picked our spells. We need to do that, and we're going to pick magic mana spells. I am not going to choose spells right now. I'm going to show you how, but we're not going to go through picking spells. We're going to go to add spells. You'll see here cantrips and spells. So cantrips are, we're going to call level 0 spells. You can cast cantrips as much as you want. Like for instance, light is a cantrip. You can just go light, 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 light. Doesn't matter. Do it all day. Spell, you're limited by your spell slots. In this case, again, 4 level 1 spells and 2 level 2 spells. Most classes get on a long rest. Some classes have the ability to get some of them back on a short rest. Warlocks get very few spells, but you get them back on, or they get very few spell slots, but you get them back on every short rest. Bard is not like that. You get your 4 first level slots, your 2 second level slots at 3rd level. That's what he has. And you just go down here. You pick cantrips. It's saying here you can know 2 cantrips and you can know 6 spells. So you pick cantrips. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and pick some to show you how they work. Boom, Vicious Mockery, and Thunderclap, whatever. Okay? And as soon as you take the amount that you can take, D&D Beyond is excellent and doesn't let you take anymore. So just take as many as you want, and then you can't take anymore, and it's great. But if you want to learn something about each spell, you can go to the spell, and it says the level, and it'll give you a little blurb explanation of how, and that's how you pick spells. And basically, guys, that's how you make a character. That's really all there is to it. I know you guys are going to have questions. Call me, text me, ask me at work if we work together, but that's most of it. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you whenever we play next.